For more content and training, go to on telling personal story, go to ramiro.me/show. Story Legacy at ramiro.me, a show for people who want to tell their story, make an impact, and leave a legacy. Personal stories from people just like you who have gone through tough shit and came out with a story to tell. I am Ramiro, creator of Story Legacy, your story guide. And today on the show, we have from North Carolina, Erika Brown.
Bam, 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 bam.
Nice. Love that. Hey, Erika, welcome to the show. Great to have you on here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So if you're ready, we're going to get into it right away with one of the toughest, challenging questions I like to ask to start off the show. And that is, what has been one of the biggest challenges that you have faced and gone through in your life?
In my many years on this earth, there have been so many, so many things. It's funny you asked that now because over the past month and even past year, right, with everything going on with the pandemic, I kind of have this new perspective on life. And really the challenge, I think, for me that is sort of an umbrella over everything is recognizing that I have a power and a gift inside of me that nobody else has. And being able to say that proudly and not be afraid that people are like, oh, she's stuck on herself, or, she thinks she's all that or whatever. And just living in the greatness that I am. It took a while to get there. And I think I'm finally emerging as that person. So that was the biggest challenge, just being able to recognize you're amazing. And that's period. Nothing else after that.
Beautiful. So you say that's like the umbrella, right? So what that tells me now, tell me if that's right or not, if that resonates with you or not, is that it's been this wave throughout your life. It's kind of been owning that power a bit more and more and acknowledging. So like some experience, like you own it, but then not really. And then every time it's a little bit more. Is that accurate?
A little bit. I think I'm more at that part now. I think before I didn't even recognize that I had this power. I lived in this sort of dimming of my own light, sort of, you know what I mean? Thinking that I was just some random person on this earth and didn't really have a lot of strengths behind me. Even though people tell you all the time, oh, you're this and that, you just don't believe it for some reason. So it's, I guess, imposter syndrome and just self-doubt that has been with me over time. And I think it really stems from just early childhood and experiences and adults saying things to you as a child that really just stick with you and kind of mold who you grow into be as an adult.
Do you remember what that early programming was that you got from the adults that led to that?
Well, I remember one case I had during my education. I don't even know if it was a professor or whatever, but someone in my education life, told me I couldn't do X, Y, and Z. You aren't good enough to be this physician that you want to be. I've had situations where there have been, I won't say associates, because I don't think they were associates, but people that were in school with me, that would say things to me or something happened, they would blame it on me. It's like all these different daggers coming at you that just makes you question, well, man, maybe I'm not just that person that I thought I was. That's what comes to mind off the top of my head right now.
So what's shifted, especially in the past year, that you started to see and first become aware of it, then see your own power, and then thirdly, finally just embrace it neutrally and say, yes, these are my strengths, this is who I am, and I am powerful. What so it's a bunch of questions. One, like what's the first awareness? What led to that first awareness? And then the other two steps.
Okay, so the pandemic, although it has been horrific in so many ways, it's been a blessing for me because I took a step away from my corporate job during the pandemic to start my own business. And I would have never known that starting your own business would be such a reflective moment and just a moment of growing and strength. And you really learn kind of like what you suck at, right? You learn what you suck at, you learn what you're good at. And you kind of learn, it's sort of like a mirror where you see like, man, I suck at that. And now I understand why X, Y, and Z were going wrong in my corporate life. Now I understand why X, Y, and Z were going wrong in my relationships. And I think starting my business has really been the beginning point of that realization. And I think over the past few months, looking back over my year and some change as an entrepreneur, I'm like, well, dang, Eric, in a year and a half, you've had 2 books, a podcast, a year in podcasting, been on podcasts, had clients. You didn't lose your mind. Like, you were successful. You impacted people's lives. You brought value. You are the bomb.com. Like, I came to that realization after just creating this from scratch, right? And I think that's really helped me in my own personal confidence and being able to just live in my, I hate saying live in my truth, but live in my truth and being able to know that my voice, my opinion, my thoughts are valuable, they're valid, and they're important.
You are the bomb.com. I love that. You are the bomb.com.
I'm showing my age right now, Romero. That's like an old saying. The bomb.com. Yeah, that's what I am.
Really? Oh, I didn't know. You are the bomb.com. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with me. Now, I'm curious. More specifically, you said one of the things that really brought that into him was the fact that during the pandemic, you left your corporate job, started your own business, and that put that mirror to what you suck at. And what specifically was an insight that you realized there in looking at that mirror, what is known as your business, that was also reflecting and impacting your relationship, or even when we're in the corporate job?
I think, and again, it stems back to just not being secure in your abilities and who you are. And I think for a lot of years, even in my education, even in corporate, I doubted my own self. So my confidence sometimes was easily shaken. You're put into rooms with, I don't know who, but executives or whatever, and you kind of like, well, they know more than me, so I'm going to be quiet. And now I'm like, I don't care who you are. We're all human. You may know X, Y, and Z, but I know ABC. So let's go at it. So I think that was the major thing, is like my confidence level has just increased, because as an entrepreneur, you can't you can't lack confidence. It's going to show to your clients. It's going to show on social media. It's going to show on these shows. It's going to show up. So you have to be able to address that and really figure out why you're not confident and figure out how to overcome that challenge of your lack of confidence.
So that was one of the biggest ones, right? You realized that lack of confidence, and how that showed up in your corporate life was in settings where you felt inferior, and then you weren't expressing your own voice.
I think not just in corporate, right? Because I think in my entire life, and people probably don't even notice this about me, because I think I've become so good at hiding my own interior. Like, I lived in my head, like everything was going on up in here. Nobody ever saw it. But in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, can I say this? Okay, no, it's gonna be wrong. Okay, wait, let me think about this. Even in personal settings and social environments with my friends, I could be out having the greatest time with my girlfriends at dinner, having wine, and I'm like, am I gonna pick the right wine? What do I say? Is it woody? Is it earthy? I don't know. Is it lemony? I don't know. And I would just freak my own self out. True story. Like, that's what was happening in my head.
I believe you, and I laugh because of the way you express it now. It's funny. I'm curious, how about in your with your partner? Were you also did you express it in that relationship, or also not?
My lack of confidence?
Yeah. If you'd go out on a date and you have to pick the wine, would that still be going on in your head, or would you ask him?
I think when we first started dating, I was probably still like, oh my gosh, okay, we're going to the movies. Okay, we're sitting down. Should I hold his hand? No, I'm not going to hold his hand. Is my hand too close? Okay, wait, no. Okay, he's going for popcorn. I can't go for popcorn. He's going to think I'm trying to be forward. Like, yeah, that was still. It's more like, you know what it is? I think it's second guessing yourself. That's really what it comes down to. It's second guessing yourself and not believing in your own, like I said, capability. And even, I think it comes down to, there's always an option, right? There's always your way and my way. Neither way may be right or wrong. It's just that we approach things differently. And I think coming from the sciences sometimes, I've been in science all my life. In science, there really is, per se, a right or a wrong, right? When you're in physics class or whatever, you want to get an A because you want to get it right. So I think I've carried that mentality with me for so long. Like, I have to get it right. I can't get it wrong. I don't do B's. I don't get C's, definitely not a D. So I have to get it right. So I'm going to think about every possible aspect of this question scenario, play it out in my head 10,000 times. Like, what's the Avengers? Shoot.
Oh, Doctor Who?
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange?
Yes, I need to play out 1 billion ways of how this could go before I can give you my answer. Yes, that's where I was in life earlier.
So what happened is, again, on that your with your partner is, all right, in the first few dates, it was all that inner dialogue going
Yeah.
And then did what shift did you either start expressing that self-doubt, or did that self-doubt go away after a few years or a few dates?
It went away. Shortly thereafter. I think one other thing I would say is that for a long time, I kind of lived in this duality, right? Of Erica that the family knows and Erica that the world knows, because they were two different people. This is the Erica, the crazy Erica that just says random stuff. That's the one my family knew. The one that the world knew was like, yes, I'm Dr. Erica. It's very nice to meet you. How can I help you? And I think with him, I was able to break that wall a little bit quicker. And over the years, I've been able to break that wall slightly quicker, but I didn't think I recognized the extent of that duality until this past year. And being able to see that more quickly and be like, okay, that's got to go, because that's exhausting. And either you're going to like me or you're not. Whether I give you a right answer or a wrong answer, you can like me or not. I could give you the right answer. You can still not like me. So I don't care anymore. It is what it is. This is me.
I love that. I love that. From instead of putting on a mask and having then your own inner circle where you have no mask and you're just your fun self, that in more places, thanks to your journey into entrepreneurship, where you started just taking off the mask and being more fully you. I love that. And so many people have that. I definitely knew I had that identity crisis, and for me it was kind of the opposite. Like, my immediate family, my parents, my brothers, I would be me, but then I would be judged for it. Why you always gotta be so weird? Why can't you just be normal for once? And then, but me still being me, with certain other friends, which I call like brothers from another mother, like, family beyond the bloodline, is they just fully accepted, embraced me with all the goods and the bads. And I remember I have this friend like Hugo, right? So he like really knows all the layers of me. And back then growing up, so whenever I would visit and we're at the dinner table and his mom's sitting at the table, his mom goes, Hugo, why can't you more be like your friend Ramiro? Look, he's so quiet, well behaved. And Hugo's going, Mom, you don't know this guy. He's not that nice guy you see in front of you. So I definitely relate to what you said about wearing masks and how exhausting that is, right? Now, so if I ask you now, because with that comes the question, you're wearing the mask, who am I? how did you used to answer that, and how do you define it nowadays for yourself? How do you answer that question? Who is Erica?
I think I would probably, if we're in a networking event or whatever, or out for drinks, I would say, I'm Erica. I'm a pharmacist. Yeah, I'm married. I'm a wife. And that would be the extent of it. Like, that's where it would stop. Now I don't know how to explain it. I am Erica. Like, that should say enough. Like, there's Beyonce, there's Rihanna, I'm Erica. Get into it. I would say I'm a creative being with a scientific heart. I'm a person that wants to leave a legacy and have an impact on others. And I am a hot mess and bougie and quirky all at the same time. That's me.
I love that. What I love about your answer is, first you said how you used to answer that in the past was through certain labels and relationships. So the label of the profession, the label of the relationship as a wife, for example, and then now you shift to it's just who I am, and you call that a creative being, and then you name some characteristics, right? And that at the core, wow, I love that. If there's time, I'll share a little poem with you.
Okay.
After our call. So
the only
yeah,
title I'm keeping is cosplayer. I'm not letting that one go. That one's gonna stay.
Ooh, tell me more about that. What do you love about cosplay?
So that's the other place where I think that started to help me break down that wall and really see some of the challenges that I had. So I would say cosplay and pandemic both kind of helped with me gaining my confidence. I love the world of cosplay because you can be whoever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do, and everyone is just so accepting and loving of you. If you come, with a costume that you spent a year making, awesome, you look amazing. If you come and you went to Party City or whatever, or in your closet and got some towels and some paper clips and made something, you still look amazing. Like, the love is just there for you, just for showing up and displaying whatever talent you have or whatever love for a character you have. It's like the best environment, the best community that I just absolutely love it.
Wow. Okay. Cool. So that's so key in community is how open and accepting. So I'm curious, what are some of your favorite characters to play at, and which are some that you still have on the list to play into?
So my favorite that I've done, I tend to lean towards characters that I knew in my childhood. And I'm realizing that apparently I like creepy things as a child. I don't know why. So I tend to lean that way, and also characters that just really speak to me, but also characters that you don't necessarily see a lot of minorities play or, sort of cosplay as. So I got lost in my answer and I forgot your question.
Yeah, the question was, so what characters have you had played, and which do you still want to play? And you gave that broad answer, but like specifically, what are some of the favorites that you've done in the recent years?
So my favorite is Jessica Rabbit. So that was like the first real cosplay that I did.
Okay.
And I think that was kind of the moment where I was like, oh, okay, I can really do whatever the frig I want to do. Because I did Jessica. I'm a married woman doing Jessica. Most people are like, ooh, you're doing Jessica? Aren't you married? Like, you have to wear that split and your boobs are out. He's right there beside me, like taking pictures. He's cool. We're good. So that was a fun one. I loved doing Shuri from Black Panther, primarily because we did the comic book version of Shuri, which is a little bit different from what people see on the screen. So that was awesome. And then my third favorite, it's so corny, but that's me. I don't know if you watch Stranger Things or anybody watches Stranger Things. One of the characters in that show, her name is Erika. And she's one of my favorite characters on the show. So of course I had to do Erika from Stranger Things. So those have been my favorite. And Edward Scissorhands. Yes, Edward Scissorhands was a great one. What I'm hoping to do, I have two on my bucket list.
Uh-huh.
One is from an old movie with Tina Turner, Beyond the Thunderdome. She played a character called Auntie Entity. And the second is another old movie called Labyrinth with David Bowie, where he played the Goblin King, and I went to do his character.
All right, cool. Okay. So I'm curious, when you do cosplay, right? What is that scenario like? What's the setting like? So you make your costume. Do you make them yourself? Do you have someone make it for you? How long does it take?
Depends on the costume. I am not a sewer. That is on my list now to learn how to sew. I can't even sew on a button. So I tend to buy different pieces and kind of create the costume that I want. My husband does a little bit of sewing, so he does some of it. But I really want to be able to create my costume from scratch completely one day. And in terms of how long it takes, Jessica was easy. We bought a dress and I got a wig and I did my makeup. Like the makeup is the other thing that takes a while. So that was like to get the costume, however long Amazon took. To get the makeup with like all the eyebrows in purple, I did that practice, I think maybe 2 months to get that down. And Edward took maybe another 2 months because you had to do scars with latex and stuff and shadowing. So for me, that's a big part of it as well.
So you did Edward Scissorhands makeup yourself?
Mm-hmm.
All
I
right,
do all the makeup myself. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. So that's what takes so long. So yeah, it just depends. I know people that have done, well, I don't know them personally, but I've heard of people where it took them a year to create their costume for whatever country they're going to.
Wow. You know, that reminds me, I saw this video come up of this little girl who does like her own makeup. She takes these pictures and these tutorials and she does her own makeup. And the costume she has done, I saw her to play It from that scary clown. I saw her be Mystique from the X-Men. And she was like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old and already doing that. So that kind of paints a picture. So when you've done your costume, right, where do you then go to display it? What do you do after you've had, all right, this is my costume. What do you do with it? Where do you go? Do you go what, to the grocery store? What do you do? How's that setting like?
No, I'm not going to Target after that. We have gone through the Chick-fil-A drive-thru before my cosplay on, and that was interesting. But no, you go to the cons, right? That's the whole point of the cosplay is you go to the various Comic Cons, whether it's a local, regional Comic Con in your own city, you know, one of the smaller ones, or one of the bigger ones, New York, San Diego, Chicago, Atlanta. And you go there to show your work and to either people are there asking you for pictures. You may find people that match your movie or your story. So when I did Shuri, I got a picture, you know, with Black Panther, with T'Challa, with T'Chaka, with, you know, M'Baku. We had a whole little family picture going on. So you do that. There may also be, you know, cosplay competition. So one year in New York, I was in a cosplay competition and we got paired up. And it was so funny. It was 5 girls. We all had red. Like whatever our costume was, it was red by just chance. So you do different costume competitions. You just have fun.
I love it. So is Halloween another reason to do costumes?
I don't even do Halloween. How about that?
That was my assumption. So that's why I asked that question. I was curious because you do cosplay, but no Halloween.
I don't
do
Halloween.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is it because it's a different community?
I think maybe because it takes so long for like to actually put the cosplay on and with the makeup and everything. And Halloween is like an hour of candy giving. And I don't know if the ROI for me is good for that. Like, yeah.
Clear. Yeah. So it is part of the community. It's different. It's only, it's a different event. Yeah. Oh, got it.
Because with cosplay, like I'm in a cosplay for like 12 hours that day, like straight from 8 a.m. till sometimes 10 at night. Wow. So I get my worth out of the costume.
Okay, so Core diehard cosplayers do not do Halloween.
I'm not saying that. I just don't. And I'm not even a diehard like cosplayer. There's so many people out there who do amazing cosplay that I just aspire to get to one day. I'm in awe of some of their talent.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool. I'm curious about the Stranger
Uh-huh.
Things Erica character, right? So
Uh-huh.
I imagine when you're at a cosplay and they say, "Ooh, you're Erica from Stranger Things." People who recognize it, right?
Uh-huh.
Or they go like, "Who are you?" "I'm Erica from Stranger Things." And then you get into a conversation, and then then someone asks you, "All right, so what's your real name?" "Well, I'm Erica." No. I mean, what's your real name? Erica. That you don't break character. Did that happen, or am I just my imagine just making shit up right now?
That has not happened because I have never gotten asked what's my name. I get asked like, what's your Instagram? So that they can share pictures or tag me, but no one's ever asked me my name.
So in the cosplay setting event, you never asked for the name behind the character, the personal name behind the character.
I don't know if it happens. It has never happened to me.
Do you
Like,
ever ask people?
I've never asked people their name. I know them by like their cosplay name.
Oh, so people have what's your cosplay name?
Smiley B cosplay.
Oh wow! See, this is so exciting to me. It's a whole new world, a community that I don't know. So I ask these questions to you. You're like, no, you don't ask your name. You have a cosplay name. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they have a name. I don't know it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that because no, you know what, and that's okay because it's not important. The setting you're in, that those things don't matter. Your cosplay name is more important, and your character name at that point is more important than the given name at birth. Right? It reminds me of this conversation of some people I know from this spiritual community, and whenever we're in classes together or in service together, it's all about learning and growing. We rarely ask, so what work do you do? Like the labels, right? We rarely ask about that. So we don't know their professional background or what they do for work. So one time I was with my brother who is not in that community, and I said, I'm going to visit a friend from that community. "Oh, so what did she do?" "I don't know. I think she's retired." "But what did she do before that?" "I don't know, bro." He says, "You know them so well. You see them so often, and you don't ask." No, that's not important. And then what happens is, so my brother's a runner. He's an avid runner. He runs like marathons. And then he goes, and then he has like his running buddies. So I meet one of them as we get into conversation, and I'm not a runner, so I ask him about his profession, blah 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 blah. And then later I go to "Oh yeah, I talked with your running buddy, and he told me he's in design, etc." He goes, "Oh really? I didn't know that." I was like, "Bro, you run with them every week, and you never ask him that stuff." Yeah, but it's not important. It's not important. It doesn't matter because that's not. Yeah. Oh wow. Cool. So with the whole the pandemic stuff, how has the cosplay been? Are you already back into it? Was it on pause for a while?
It's been so sad. It's been on pause. So the first year, 2020, we had to cancel our New York trip. Everything was kind of shut down. Some cosplayers I know were still, doing cosplay and posting it on Instagram and stuff like that. I didn't. I don't know. I kind of took it hard, and I didn't do anything. This year we went to one con here locally, and it just wasn't. It wasn't the same because we had on masks, and I was Edward, so I had on scars but underneath my mask, and it was just weird. And we were going to go to New York. We had to cancel that. So it's just been kind of a hit or miss, kind of what's your aversion for risk that you want to take type thing. So it's been a bad year for cons for me.
Okay. Well, coming back to this is what I see. So tell me if that's accurate or not. I believe one of the reasons why, and you said this, one of the reasons why you love cosplay so much is you get to express yourself creatively, and there's like endless possibility. You can be whatever you want, right?
Mhm.
So where else, how else do you express yourself? Because I believe that's really what is so important, and what you mentioned in your confidence and just being who you are, to express yourself fully, unapologetically. How
Mhm.
else, where else do you express yourself like that?
So there's cons. There's, podcasting, kind of just doing this type of thing. Um, I'm a dancer, so I've even taught Zumba. That, as I think about stuff, there's been different steps that have helped me with my confidence over the years. Zumba was definitely one of those, being a Zumba instructor. So I love dance. That's how I express myself. Um, well, I don't even call myself. I am not a professional by any stretch of the means photographer. My husband does photography, so I go out with him sometimes and just dabble in photography, and that kind of helps me express myself. Uh, Cooking helps me express myself. Uh, yeah.
Wait. Why do you find that so funny? That cooking is a way that you express yourself.
Because I cook weird stuff, Ramiro. Okay. I cook weird stuff. Like, I like experimenting. And my family gets scared. Like, they'll ask me, Erica, what is this normal brownies? Or like what is this? Is it the bean brownies or the normal brownies? Like, we need to know. So that's why.
So tell me about a time where the experiment was well received and a nice surprise, and another time where the bean brownies were like, Erica, never do the bean brownies again.
Um, Luckily, for the most part, they've all been well received. Um, I think the only time that it wasn't necessarily well received, except for the people that tried it and had no idea. So Thanksgiving, my family, they love their sweet potato pie,
Mhm.
but I did a butternut squash pie. It looked very similar, right? So people that asked me what I made, they stayed away from, like, nope, we're good. We're going sweet potato. Now my dad didn't ask, and he tried the butternut squash pie. He thought it was good though. See, if you don't know that you're trying something different, you don't know, and you might be pleasantly surprised.
That's a great insight there, because they knew it was not their favorite sweet potato pie, but it was a butternut squash. They were not open to trying because they were so
Right.
attached to the sweet potato pie. And then your dad later, did he this when he discovered it was a butternut squash?
Uh-huh.
Did he? How did he respond? Was like, oh, that was good, or
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I didn't know. It tasted good." Yeah. So, but
so
yeah.
then why do they ask you, all right, Erica, is this a normal brownie or a bean brownie? Why do they ask that question?
I think they just want to be prepared, right? Just in case, like, I'll try the bean brownie. I just want to be prepared for my tongue. Like, is it going to be a different texture? I just want to know what I'm biting into, type thing, right? I think that's really what it is.
They want that a certain sense of certainty and not be
Right,
surprised too much. Oh, okay.
right, right. But
Okay.
life, you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes you'll get regular chocolate fudgy brownies. Sometimes you'll get black bean brownies, but they could satisfy you the same way. You just
Uh,
never know.
Black bean brownies. All right, cool. uh,
You
so
didn't know we were going to have this much of a random conversation, did you?
I love it. I love it. So yeah, Erica, the one thing I'm like, how do I prepare for set? Like the only thing is the opening question, and then we just free flow, see where the conversation goes. So I am happily surprised
Okay,
that
good.
is a new taste of an experience, taste of a conversation. Yeah, I love that. And you just mentioned that through all those different things, like for example, the Zumba, the dancing, right, is it helped to build your confidence,
Mhm.
right? So it was in those phases to where you're more accepting of who you are, and this is me, this is Erica, right?
Mhm.
Cool, yeah, all right, cool. So in that process, in that learning, in that growth, in that transformation of becoming more of Erica, what have been some of the key insights that you've learned through that process and journey?
Key insights that I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
I think not living afraid of what people may think of you, which sounds so cliche-ish and so simple, right? But it's easier said than done sometimes. I think we live in such a judgmental society sometimes, especially with social media, that you almost become afraid of expressing your thoughts, your opinions of who you are, for fear of ridicule, for fear of rejection, cancellation, whatever it is. And I think once you are able to stand in your opinions and your thoughts, your life becomes so much more free.
Mm.
So I think that's one thing that's a key insight for me. And also not getting caught in the stagnancy and consistency of life to the point where you don't allow yourself to grow into who you could be because you're so comfortable with where you are now.
So again, so not to get caught up in the stagnancy you said and consistency of life,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so comfortable and that it can actually limit to you to where you could go, right?
Yeah.
So how exactly what experience specifically led to that insight? Was it like the corporate job? What was it that was for you that place of comfort and that yeah, and then you realized too that you could be
Mm-hmm.
more and that you could have more.
I don't know if it was a certain point that led to that, or maybe it was more of just looking around at the world and people in my life and just people that I've spoken to and just hearing from other people's stories, right? You have some people that, I'm going to go to work and have a 9 to 5 and that's it. That's all I want. I just want to do that. Um, and I think sometimes that may be fine, but sometimes I think people are just missing, at least for me, I'll speak for me,
Mhm.
missing the opportunities to grow. And when people hear me say, like, missing opportunities to grow, I'm not even talking about becoming a multi-millionaire Oprah person, but it's opportunities to, like, do some self-improvement, do some growth, do something to improve your life, someone else's life in whatever capacity, and not just keeping everything within you, because there's so much within all of us that we can share. Like, that can improve anyone's life. Little things that you don't even think about, from day to day. That's what I think about. So I don't know if it was one specific thing that just changed that or turned that light switch on for me. I think it's just living for 40 something years that has really let me see that, just not being consistent, not being stagnant in where you are.
So have you always, in your 40 years of experience, always had that habit and that practice of continuously growing, or was it really the past year through the container of entrepreneurship
Mhm.
where that became even more intense focus?
I think I've always been continually growing just because of the nature of my education and career, right? So, 11 years of my life I was in school, graduate school, college, whatever. So I was always growing. In my corporate job, we were always learning. There's nothing, you can't be stagnant in that role. Even trying to keep my license, I can't be stagnant. I have to always continue to grow in my professional career. Um, I think maybe where my stagnancy came in was on the other side of life, right? Not even relationships, but maybe from a volunteer philanthropic perspective. Like, I think I focused so much on work and maintaining family and all that kind of stuff that my giving backness, which I know is not a word, my
It is
giving
now.
backness,
It is now giving backness. I love
giving
that.
backness kind of fell to the wayside. And now seeing just how much people have been impacted by the pandemic, seeing different things that are happening and knowing the gaps that are in our communities that are in the US, looking back at communities where I grew up at, I feel like I have an obligation to do something about that, to give back in some way. And I think I've let that stay stagnant for a while.
Mm, mm. So now, have you gotten back to your, or gotten into your giving backness?
So I am working on it. Actually, I'm dabbling, hopefully in the future, in a little bit of realty. So I have a cousin who's a realtor. So hopefully in the future, we're working on some different community growth projects with her from a real estate perspective. One of my all-time goals, and it's going to probably sound corny, but I don't care, is I think it's a shame that kids have to pay for their meals in elementary school and all that kind of stuff. So I want to be able to go back to my elementary school and wipe the slate clean for all the kids at that school for at least 5 years. That's like one of my goals. I don't want the kids to ever have to go hungry in school because they can't afford to pay for their own school lunch.
Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's me.
Thank you. Those are some pretty exciting giving backness projects
Giving
that you
backness.
got.
I'm
Yeah.
going to trademark that. Don't steal my word, people.
Givingbackness.com. Thebomb.com. All right. Cool. Cool. Oh. I'm just looking right now to see if there's anything on the cosplay that I would like to know and be very interested. What is the biggest major event of cosplay, like worldwide?
Oh.
Or for you, is it New York?
What do you mean biggest event? Like how are you
Like the biggest community that everybody knows that one.
Oh, New York is definitely a big one. Oh yeah, yeah. New York is huge. In terms of the number of people that go, I would think New York is definitely up there. San Diego's up there as well. We have not made it to San Diego yet. That was supposed to be 2020. We're not going to talk about that. It depends on what you're looking for, right? That's I think the beauty and the difference between some of these cons. So New York is huge in size. San Diego's in California. So oftentimes a lot of the movie premiere and things like that would happen at the San Diego con.
So how about the international scope? So for example, a lot of people from South America, from Asia, from Europe, from Africa also join these events?
So in New York, I know there are people that come over from Europe, some from Asia. I would think San Diego may be, different just based on geographic, what's easier to get to. But yeah, I definitely know New York, Europe comes over. And then Europe has their own one. I think London has a big Comic Con that we want to get to one year. Yeah, I don't know beyond that though.
Okay, cool. Well, it sounds exciting. I love when people have that passion and that creative juices that come alive when they have that freedom to play in a certain community, in a certain setting. And I see cosplay really bringing that out for you. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So we're about to wrap up. So if you have a message that you would want to share for people today, tomorrow, 1,000 years from now, what message would that be?
I would say life is short. Screw what everybody else thinks. Do what you want as long as it's legal. And just lean into discovering what lights you up, discovering what you will not negotiate on, and stick with it.
Beautiful.
That's it.
Thank you. Ties back into your challenge of becoming Erika. I love that. All right, cool. This was Story Legacy at Ramiro.me. Erika, now we're going to end on a kapow. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Know how now?
Kapow!